Alright, in this video, we'll be looking at factoring. Um, there's many different types of factoring methods. In this case, we'll be looking at common factor. Now, on a test, especially on your midterms and finals, they won't be telling you guys which method to use for factoring. So it's up to you to really realize which method you have to use. In this case, I will show you guys that you have to use common factor. Okay? So how do we know that it's common factor that you're going to use? Well, if you see here, you have two terms, okay? And you have to essentially factor. So what am I going to factor that's common to these two terms? Well, I'll give you guys a little trick. It's called SNL. Much like the show, Saturday Night Live, right? So where S is your signs, okay? So your signs, numbers is your N, and letters. Okay? So you'll factor out a sign, a number, and a letter. So let's see how this works. If I come here, I have to factor out common factors. So signs, I have a positive and a negative sign. Doesn't really matter too much, so I'll leave it positive. Okay? You could either choose to take out a negative or a positive. It's always easier when you just leave it as positive. So I'll pull out a positive number. I'll leave it like that. Numbers. What is the common factor that I can pull out from 12 and 18? So here, you have to ask yourself a question. Do I pull out the highest factor or the lowest factor? Well, obviously you have to try to pull out the highest common factor. So here, what would be the highest common factor between 12 and 18? 6, right? So if I pull out a 6 here, that's my number. Okay. What do I then pull out? Letter. Well, if I look, I have a cubed and a squared. What is the highest a I can pull out here? A2. Right? So I pull out an A2. Right? Because I can't pull out an A3 because I have A3 here, which is fine, but here I don't have A3. It's too big. So I have to pull out the highest factor of A that's common to both. So A2. What about B? The highest common B factor is B squared. Right? So I'll pull out a B squared. Now you ask yourself, what am I left with? So again, you go back to your signs. Positive and positive, I have a positive number left. 12, if I pulled out 6, what do I have left? 2, right? It's like dividing. 2. A cubed. Okay, so I pulled out an A squared. How many A's do I have left? 1. Right? Easy enough. What about B? B squared, I have just 1 left. So I don't need to put it. Okay? What about my second term? Well, minus and a positive leaves you with a negative, right? 18 and 6, what's left? It's like dividing, so you're left with 3. Okay? A squared and A squared, you're left with a 1, but it's like we did before with the B squared, you don't put it, because I pulled out the whole term. Okay? And the B to the 4, B squared, what am I left with? How many B's? B squared. Okay? So essentially, you've basically factored by a common factor. You pulled out the greatest common factor in terms of signs, numbers, and letters that's common to both, and you're left with the factor you pulled out and whatever's left on the inside. Alright, so that's pretty much it for common factor. If you have any other questions, make sure to send us an email or don't be shy to ask me or ask your tutor, and they'll definitely be able to help you guys with common factor factoring. Alright?